Section 1. Kundalini. Chapter 1. Yeah, man, tame the Kundalini. When I was 6 years old, I had a spontaneous spiritual experience, during which I became completely unaware of my body for quite a long time. Again, when I was 10, the same thing happened, but this time I was old enough to think and rationalize, and I told my father about it. At first, he did not understand what had happened, and he wanted to take me to a doctor. But fortunately, there were no doctors in our area at that time. Had there been, perhaps I would have ended up in a mental hospital. But things being what they were, I did not have to undergo treatment and I was left unattended. My father had a great regard for the Vedas and for his guru. One day, this guru happened to visit my native town, so my father took me to him and asked his advice about me. The sage told him I had had a spiritual experience, and therefore should be instructed to lead a spiritual life. My father obeyed his guru and arranged for me to be trained accordingly. Thus, at an early age, I was dedicated to the spiritual quest. My family was Hindu, and in Hinduism there are two traditions. One believes in the worship of idols, and the other that God is formless. My family belonged to the latter, but still I often looked at the pictures of all the different deities and wondered at them. Durga was mounted on a lion, Saraswati on a swan, Vishnu lay sleeping on a huge cobra, Kali was completely naked, standing on the body of Shiva. Tara too was naked and Shiva was drinking milk from her breast. I could not understand what it all meant. Why did Shiva ride upon a bull and have so many snakes wrapped around him? How could the Ganga flow from his hair? Why was Ganesha, with his enormous elephantine head and pot belly, riding on a small rat? I thought that there must be some symbolic meaning behind all this, but I only began to understand it through Kundalini Yoga, which I started practicing at the age of 15, while still at school. Around this time, I had another experience. I was sitting quietly when suddenly, without any effort, my mind turned inwards. I immediately saw the whole earth with its oceans, continents, mountains and cities crack into pieces. I did not understand this vision until a few days later when the Second World War broke out. This really made me begin to wonder. How could I have seen this future event symbolically in meditation when living in a remote area? I had neither heard nor read about it previously, nor had I any way of knowing that it was coming. A new life begins. By the time I was 17, I was asking questions which nobody could answer. I wondered about things like the difference between perception and experience. I talked a lot about such topics with my maternal uncle and my younger sister, but this didn't quench my thirst, and I knew I had to go out and discover the answers for myself. I postponed my departure from home until one day my father pushed me out with 90 rupees in my pocket. Thus, my wandering life began. During my travels, I met a very old Swami who invited me to stay in his ashram. He had a wonderful knowledge of Tantra and taught me many things. Though I knew I would never forget him, He was not my guru, and after 9 months I left his ashram and continued wandering. Soon after this I reached Rishikesh, where I heard about Swami Sivananda. I went to him and asked how to experience the highest consciousness. He told me to stay in his ashram and he would guide me. So I followed monastic life, but still for a long time I was puzzled about the purpose of my existence. I felt that man was a seeker, yet I really did not know what I was seeking, and was often left with the terrifying question that man asks himself regarding death. The awakening of my Kundalini. Sometime later, I had another experience while sitting on the banks of the Ganga. I was thinking of some mundane things when my mind spontaneously started going in and in. Suddenly, I felt as if the earth was slipping from under me and the sky was expanding and receding. A moment later, I experienced a terrible force springing from the base of my body, like an atomic explosion. I felt that I was vibrating very fast. The light currents were terrific. I experienced the supreme bliss, like the climax of a man's desire, and it continued for a long time. My whole body was contracting until the feeling of pleasure became quite unbearable, and I lost complete awareness of my body. This was the third time it had happened. After returning to consciousness, I was listless for many days. I could not eat, sleep, or move, even to go to the toilet. I saw everything but nothing registered. This bliss was a living thing within me, and I knew that if I moved, this wonderful feeling would cease. I would lose the intensity of it all. How would I move when bells were ringing inside? This was the awakening of my Kundalini. After a week or so, I returned to normal, and then I started to study Tantra and Yoga very seriously. At first, I was still a bit weak and sick, so I practiced Hatha Yoga to purify my whole system. Then I began to explore the fantastic science of Kundalini Yoga. What is this power which awakens in Muladhara chakra? My interest was aroused, and I put much effort into trying to understand this marvelous force. With the awakening of Kundalini, the greater intelligence is aroused from its sleep, and you can give birth to a new range of creativity. When Kundalini awakens, not only are you blessed with visions and psychic experiences, you could become a prophet, saint, inspired artist or musician, a brilliant writer or poet, a clairvoyant or a messiah. Or you could become an outstanding leader, prime minister, governor or president. The awakening of Kundalini affects the whole area of the human mind and behavior. Kundalini is not a myth or an illusion. It is not a hypothesis or a hypnotic suggestion. Kundalini is a biological substance that exists within the framework of the body. Its awakening generates electrical impulses throughout the whole body, and these impulses can be detected by modern scientific instruments and machines. Therefore, each of us should consider the importance and the benefits of awakening Kundalini, and we should make a resolve to awaken this great Shakti.